episode, we're honored to have with us Eli Malouf, who's the Chief Executive Officer of IHG Hotels and Resorts.
The growth of middle class combined with growth of GDP just drives travel. Leisure travel and business travel drives them around the world. So we have those strong tailwinds, but then we capitalize on that. India is going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hotels for us over the decades ahead. So getting our markets, our emerging markets to their full potential. But in some ways, we're just getting started. Despite the fact we have 6,300 and more hotels open in the world, another 2,000 under development, almost 1 million rooms, 950,000 rooms around the world. Despite that, I think we're just getting started. So priority number one for me was to take our brands today and get them to their full potential.
Trust and brand experience are two huge cornerstones for any industry, more so for the hospitality industry. And if seeing is believing, experiencing it is even at a higher level.
And take a look at India today. It's a very strong domestic travel market, but the outbound from India is projected to grow by 5 times in the next 10 years, by 5 times to reach almost 80 million.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special episode of BWH Dialogues, where we dig into the minds of industry leaders who shape the future of hospitality. In this episode, we're honored to have with us Eli Malouf, who's the Chief Executive Officer of IHG Hotels and Resorts. He's here on a very, very special visit all the way from London as we sit together in Gurgaon to do this show. With a rich background spanning decades in the global hospitality sector, Eli brings a wealth of experience and insights to the table. Let's straight away dive into this conversation that promises to illuminate the landscape of hospitality, especially in the dynamic context of India's booming hospitality industry. And as he embarks on this high-profile visit to India, we today have the privilege to delve into his insights, vision, and plans for IHG's operations in India and beyond. So Eli, I shall roll in with my first set of 3 questions. We'll briefly explore your background and your vision, with your permission, if I may.
Good to be with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for your time, sir. Eli, your diverse background in both hospitality and before that is so impressive and rich. Can you share with us how your journey in the hospitality industry, including your roles at HMS Host Corporation, McKinsey, and now at IHG, has shaped your leadership style and has also motivated your decision to join and take on this role at IHG?
Well, look, even before my professional experiences, I start with a personal global experience. I've lived on 4 continents. I've learned to speak 4 languages. I've sort of gotten a huge appreciation for different cultures, for different parts of the world, for the fact that there are opportunities everywhere in the world and that we need to work with every part of the world to grow our businesses and to grow personally. So I started my career actually in real estate development before hospitality, which is fundamental to the hospitality development, to hospitality growth. Understanding how our real estate investors make decisions is key to how we grow in our hotel business at IHG. But then I spent 14 years with a travel retail company called HMS Host, becoming chief executive for 6 years. So it was branded. It was travel. It's the same customer that we have in hotels, but on a different part of their journey. In fact, I started our business in India, which is now in most of the airports in India, and they've carried on successfully since I started that maybe 20 years ago at my former company. But then this opportunity came together, which really is the pinnacle of my experience, joining IHG Hotels and Resorts, where we have brands, we have travelers, we have heritage, we have just one of the most powerful names in all of the industry. It goes back over 80 years in hospitality with some of the most well-known and beloved brands like Intercontinental and Holiday Inn. And to become chief executive, to lead this iconic company is really an incredible privilege that brings together all my previous experiences, whether it's real estate, travel, retail, branding, my global experience. It brings it all together to bring the true potential of ISG into the future.
You know, you were just speaking about Intercontinental. Intercontinental is almost generic to India. I mean, as we grew up, we had Intercontinental all over, and we used to call it Intercon.
Yes.
Right. So we've grown up with the brands Intercontinental and Holiday Inn. But let me now get on to the next question. You've seen remarkable growth and transformation. If you can share some of your strategic priorities for the future of IHG in the global hospitality market with some bit of detail on South Asia and India.
Of course. Look, we start from a great place and a great foundation. 80 years of hospitality history, some of the most iconic brands in the industry. You just mentioned, Intercontinental, Holiday Inn mean travel for people around the world, not just in India, not just in the US, not just in Europe. Intercontinental at the upper end of luxury. Holiday Inn for everyday travelers, really mean hotel, really mean experience. So we start from a great foundation. But we've built, of course, much more. 19 brands now, 100 countries, a powerful loyalty plan with IHG One Rewards, a sales force that works with every global corporation, relationships with thousands of owner investors around the world. Just a true, powerful foundation. But in some ways, we're just getting started. Despite the fact we have 6,300 and more hotels open in the world, another 2,000 under development, almost 1 million rooms, 950,000 rooms around the world. Despite that, I think we're just getting started. So priority number one for me was to take our brands today and get them to their full potential. Despite the fact some of them have been here a long time, and then of course the new ones that we've launched over the last 10 years, there's still tremendous potential for each one of them. Brands like Intercontinental, that brand has 215 hotels open in the world, another 100 under development. Most of them, east of Europe, in Middle East, Southeast Asia, China, all the way into, the Pacific. So this region is a big part of that growth for Intercontinental.
True.
Holiday Inn, on the other hand, a brand that's been around 75 years from the first one that Clemens Wilson started. Now the best known hotel brand in the world. Holiday Inn has 1,300 hotels around the world, 20% under development. 20% under development. So even these brands that have, decades of experience still are pretty youthful in the opportunity they still have. And then, of course, our newer brands, whether Hotel Indigo, Kimpton, Six Senses, Voco, Vignette, Avid, Atwell, they all have multiples of their open hotel rooms under development. Crowne Plaza has 30% of its open hotels under development. So each of our brands, not one has less than 20%. So getting all of our brands to their full potential is the first priority. Number two is getting our emerging markets to their full potential. I'll come to India in a second, but we're the biggest in China with 700 open hotels, another 500 under development. I think we're just getting started there. Same thing you could say for developed markets like Japan and Germany, where our share is low. There's a lot more headroom. Vietnam, Thailand, a lot more headroom. And of course, India, where I'm here for the week. I think we've been here nearly 60 years, since 1965. But we have 46 hotels, almost that much under pipeline, so we're going to double in the next 3 to 5 years, but we have a lot more. India is going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hotels for us over the decades ahead. So getting our markets, our emerging markets, to their full potential. Number three, clearly, always working to get strong owner returns. A keen focus across the whole enterprise to make sure our owners are getting high returns on their investment, because we need their investment for us to grow. And last, I'd say, our ancillary businesses, our credit card business, growing that, our branded residence business, growing that, all the points that we sell to our customers that love to earn IHG points, growing that, our partnerships like Iberostar beachfront resorts that we launched 2 years ago, growing that. Now that we have a powerful brand portfolio, now that Aichi Hotels and Resorts is a master brand known in every household, extending that brand to other parts of travel experience is a great opportunity.
You know what I like about what you said? One, of course, you've been here since 1965, while Intercontinental and Holiday Inn need no introduction in India.
Yes.
What I like is your belief in the thumb rule of we're just getting started. Right?
Absolutely.
Each day is a new start. We have to keep reinventing ourselves. The world is not stopping on us. It's changing. It's ever evolving. With that, let me get an overview from you on how the business has been progressing in high-driven markets around the world, and what strategies have been instrumental in driving growth in these regions.
Yeah. First, we're fortunate in hospitality to be in an industry that has very strong tailwinds. Tailwinds that are fundamentally driven by growth of GDP around the world and growth of middle class. Nowhere do you see it more than in India, where the GDP growth of 7.5%, over 8% in the first quarter, always ranks in the last several years and going into the next future years among the top of the OECD countries. And then growing the middle class around the world. The middle class is going to grow about 1.5 billion people between now and 2035. It's going to double between now and 2040. The growth of the middle class combined with growth of GDP just drives travel. Leisure travel and business travel drives them around the world. So we have those strong tailwinds, but then we capitalize on those tailwinds by being the preferred choice of guests and for businesses for travel. Nearly half of our travel comes from businesses, and about half it comes from individuals going on leisure, being their first choice. And of course, being the first choice of owners to invest. That's where having a strong brand portfolio like IHG has, with 19 brands, some new that have decades of growth ahead of them, and some that are household names. Crown Plaza, Kimpton Hotels and Restaurants, been around over 35 years. Of course, we mentioned Intercontinental and Holiday Inn, but then there's Holiday Inn Express, our biggest brand in the world.
True.
With 3,300 hotels open in 33 years, almost 100 hotels a year globally, and really, that brand is just getting started in India, where we have only 15 hotels right now. So, strong brand portfolio. Number two, a strong loyalty plan for our guests. Our guests want to feel special. They want to feel recognized. IHG One Rewards, with 130 million members, growing at record rates today, contributes 55% of our room nights every night in every hotel around the world. 55% on average. So 55% of the people that come to stay at an IHG hotel every night come from IHG One Rewards. And by the way, every night, do you know how many people stay at an IHG hotel?
No,
about 1 million people.
Okay.
About 1 million people trust us and our owners and our brands to bring their business or bring their families or bring themselves to sleep at an IHG hotel for at least one night or more. That's a huge sign of trust and a huge responsibility that we have. But once you have that, that's a powerful force to capitalize and grow on the tailwinds of this industry. So strong brands, strong trust with guests and with travelers, and then last, I'd say strong trust with owners. We've been growing with owners ever since we started. They've been investing hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars into our brands, and we've made a lot of money for them. They've made a lot of money for us and for our shareholders, and that's a deep trust that keeps our company growing. And one of the main things that I do when I come to visit markets like I do in India is spend a lot of time with our owners and the owners we want to grow relationships with. So those three things, strong brands, strong guest relationship, and strong owner relationships and returns, power our growth.
You know, trust and brand experience are two huge cornerstones for any industry, more so for the hospitality industry. And if seeing is believing, experiencing it is even at a higher level. So let me now put my next question to you. IHG has been known for its innovative approach in introducing new brands, like you've just listed them all out. Can you share with us any recent developments or expansions of new brands within the IHG portfolio, and how do these brands contribute to the overall growth strategy of the company at large?
I'll give you a few examples. First, it's a dynamic industry, right?
It is.
So we don't launch new brands just because we got bored with the ones we have.
True.
You know, our traditional brands are doing very well. I mentioned the pipelines of Intercontinental, of Holiday Inn, of Holiday Inn Express, of Crowne Plaza. Our heritage brands are doing very well. But it's a dynamic industry. People's tastes change, their needs change, owners want to invest in different things. So you can't have a static strategy in a dynamic industry.
Yeah.
So we have to keep evolving. But we only launch a brand when we believe that there's a need at scale from travelers and a need from owners to invest, a need that we're not meeting, that intersection of traveler desire and owner desire. And if we're not at that intersection, then we want a brand. So years ago, we used to have only one brand in luxury, Intercontinental, very successful, as we said, and still growing a lot, but only one. And we realized that some of our guests wanted something more exclusive. And our owners were building things that were more exclusive, and they wanted a little more variety. So now we have 5 brands in luxury lifestyle. We have Intercontinental, of course, but Regent Hotels and Resorts. We have Six Senses Hotels and Resorts.
Oh, yes, Six
We have
Senses.
Kimpton's Hotels and Restaurants, Hotel Indigo, and the Vignette Collection. And collectively today, there are only 14% of our rooms open, but they're 23% of our pipeline. So they're almost going to grow 50% from what's under development today. So to show you a bit of the evolution of our new brand, just in luxury and lifestyle, it's growing 50% just in the rooms that we have under development today. And it's even a larger percentage of our signings going forward. But still, on the mainstream end, around Holiday and Holiday Inn Express, we've added Avid Hotels, we've added Atwell Suites, we've added Garner recently.
Yes.
We launched that in September.
Yes.
We've already announced it into Mexico, into Canada. We launched 3 hotels in Japan. And last week in Germany, we launched a new partnership where we're going to add 36 new Garners into that market.
That's a lot.
In a conversion deal with the Novum Hotels, Novum Hospitality. So immediately, really, after launching the brand in September, we've gotten great traction with Garner, and I look forward to bringing it to India in the near future. So our luxury and lifestyle brands are growing pretty well. The new ones, quite well. Our mainstream new brands are growing quite well. So we're meeting the needs, but we're only growing these new brands when we're meeting the needs of travelers and of owners.
So did I hear from you that you're going to get this brand in to India soon?
Well, we develop brands really for global expansion and distribution. Rarely are we developing a brand just specifically for our market. We're a global company. Travelers tend to have generally similar flavors and tastes around the world, similar preferences. They want to customize the food and beverage a little bit, some of the service standards, but everybody loves a great experience.
And travelers also are aspirational. They've seen the world, they've seen the brands, and they've seen what they stand for.
Exactly. And so when we are successful with a brand in one market, we really want to make it global. And take a look at India today. It's a very strong domestic travel market, but the outbound from India is projected to grow by 5 times in the next 10 years, by 5 times to reach almost 80 million travelers outbound. And that's another very important reason for us to want to be strong in India is we want to build relationships with the travelers in India, so when they go to Europe or to go to Southeast Asia or they go to the Middle East, which is today their number 1 destination, or to go to the United States or wherever they go in the world, that then they have the trust of IHG hotels and brands, and they go stay with us there, they become familiar with our new brands, then when they come back, they're new customers for our new brands. So having that global distribution of our brands is very important.
So now you just spoke about the growing middle class.
Absolutely.
Middle class is where all the action is.
That's right.
If an economy is happening and the middle class is growing, you can see good tidings and good times. Brings me to my next question.
Yes.
That's, expansion is so key to IHG and its global presence. What factors do you consider when you're identifying opportunities for growth in new regions or different countries?
Well, let's take India as an example because it follows the model of how we look at large-scale opportunities. First, as you said, we look for a strong middle class, either existing strong or growing. India's middle class is projected to grow from about 100 million households to nearly 200 million households over the next 10 years. That's a huge opportunity. At an average household of 4, you're talking adding 300 to 400 million people to the middle class whether it takes 10 years or 15 years, that's a nation. That's multiple nations, a continent in of itself.
Absolutely.
And that's alone is a hugely attractive opportunity. Then we look at infrastructure. Because not only do you need to have a strong middle class, you need to be able to move. You need mobility. And we see that the development of infrastructure in India is very attractive. Over the last 10 years, 10,000 kilometers of new highways have been built every year. Dozens and dozens of airports, and there are plans for another 120 to 150 airports. And we see the two largest aircraft orders coming from Indian Airlines. So we see air infrastructure, we see road infrastructure, there's rail being built. That's all very attractive.
High-speed rail.
High-speed rail. I just heard about a high-speed rail from Mumbai up north right now that opened recently that's transporting people, at bullet speeds. And as that network expands, mobility expands, so the middle class now have places to go. Third, we look at the fundamentals of healthcare, education, stable government, growing GDP. All those things are going in India's favor. And therefore, those are the characteristics we look for in a market. To see whether it's an attractive market for us to grow into. And as I said, yes, we've been in India 60 years, but I really feel like we're just getting started in India.
Absolutely.
This will be one of our fastest growing
That's
markets.
a great approach, where you're ready to reinvent the wheel every day, and take it from yesterday and on to the future is a great example. Now, let me just focus my next two questions to you on your financial performance and strategy. Right. So, Ellie, tell me, IHG has consistently delivered very strong financial performances, with impressive metrics such as your GOP and RevPAR. How does the company plan to sustain this momentum going forward?
You're right. We've had a very good track record, interrupted by the pandemic, of course.
Oh, yes. Let's forget the pandemic.
That's right.
Let's erase those 2 or 3 years.
That's right. But it was only interrupted. I think it actually showed something. It showed that despite that interruption, our business model is very strong, very resilient. We were still cash flow positive at the worst time of the pandemic. We had to make some cost adjustments, as everybody did, but we remained cash flow positive and sprung back very quickly and had a record year last year in revenue, record year in profits, increased our dividend, increased our share buybacks, delivered value to our guests, to our owners. But how do we sustain it? We sustain it by fundamentally first continuing to invest in the business, not just, reaping the benefits from the investments we made, but continuing to invest in business, invest in our brands, invest in technology, invest in rewards, invest in our people, invest in owner relationships, invest in our master brand, because we believe that the highest returns for us and for our investors come from investing in our business to capitalize on the secular growth that you just talked about, the growth of middle class around the world and the growth of GDP around the world. Those are the highest returns to continue to invest in the business. Number two, we have a asset-light model. Asset-light, so yes, we work closely with owners, but they're the ones investing in hotels. Therefore, we can spread our resources and our energies globally, managing or franchising, doing marketing, doing technology, which means that we have a very high return from our revenues to our bottom line. So staying asset-light is very important for us to be a highly productive, highly profitable company. Third, I'd say we're very disciplined in what we do. We stay in hospitality. We don't go into, distractions from there. There are other attractive industries. Those are for others. They do them very well. We might partner with them, but we let them do them. We stay very disciplined on our use of capital. We have acquired brands in the past before. We acquired Kimpton Hotels and Restaurants, we acquired Regent, Six Senses. We look at other things, but we only look for high quality investments. We don't need to just grow only by acquisition. Our organic growth is very strong, and so we only grow by acquisition when we find a very attractive opportunity. And fourth, I'd say we stay very disciplined on our costs, because a lot of our costs have to be justified to owners. Through the system fund and through the marketing fund, we have to make sure that our costs are very disciplined. We've had a lot of experience on how to grow responsibly, and we maintain that discipline to make sure that our growth is profitable growth for our owners and profitable growth for our investors.
You just spoke about your investors and your owners. So let me direct my next question specifically on that. Partnering with owners and investors is crucial for brand expansion. When you're in a managed and perhaps the franchise
Sure.
model and the investment that goes into it. How does IHG foster long-term partnerships, one, with key stakeholders, and what value proposition does IHG offer to attract and retain owners for new developments and expansions into the future? Because if you're going to have an owner with multiple investments and multiple properties, is a great stamp of approval for the brand and how it's conducting its business.
Absolutely. It starts with trust. It fundamentally starts with trust. Our owners are investing either their money and family money, or investing the money of the people that have trusted them, friends and family, or they're investing money of institutional partners that have trusted them. So we take that responsibility very seriously, and we make sure we're very transparent, that we deliver on our commitments, and we build a long-term trusted relationship with them. Then we make sure that we're operating or franchising their hotels to a very high return. That starts with designing our hotels, designing our brands to be very efficient, to deliver a great experience to guests, whether it's in mainstream or in luxury, but not a vanity project, right? These have to be productive investments, all the way from the upper luxury of Six Senses and Regent, all the way to the everyday travel of Holiday Inn Express and Holiday Inn, to make sure that there are strong returns, strong GOPs, and strong NOIs to our owners, from the design of the hotel, to the operating standards of the hotel, to the procurement that we assist them with, to make sure that we're buying high quality goods and services at valuable prices, to the technology that we deliver to make sure they're getting high revenues at the lowest cost of distribution. That's why IHG One Rewards is so powerful, delivering 55% of our room nights at very low cost of distribution. Those guests spend 20% more per room night and are 10 times more likely to book direct. What a great equation. If you're an owner, you join IHG, you know you're going to get that source of revenue. To the 240 salespeople we have around the world working with corporations from everywhere. If you drive through Gurgaon, you can see all the global corporations that are there. Well, almost every one of them is a client of IHG Salesforce. We work them to make sure that that business is coming to IHG hotels, not just in India, but around the world. That's very hard to do if you're managing that hotel by yourself without a strong brand from IHG Hotels and Resorts. So having all those platforms, those commercial platforms that drive high value, low cost revenues. So one is the trust, but then it's delivering to that trust to make sure that you're building a hotel that's efficient, operating efficiently, getting high value revenues at low cost of distribution. Ultimately, when owners are successful getting good returns at hotels, they will come back. They will come back. Nothing makes you more loyal to a partner than making money together.
Money, relationship, and a good working relationship for that. I want to ask you one question which I have been itching to ask for a while.
Go ahead.
Six Senses.
Yes.
Right? We've got one in India.
Right.
Right? What's the story? When are you going to expand that brand into India?
Well, it's already two. It's already two. It's already two.
Yeah.
And Six Senses has been a huge success for IHG. We acquired
but it's a direct operation. I mean,
it's managed.
Yeah.
It's 100% managed and will always be. Yeah. We acquired the brand, I think, in 2018, 2019. It's now up to 25 hotels open, another 40 under development. And I'd also say it's about scarcity too.
Yeah.
We're only going to be in very, very select destinations, resort destinations, remote, many cases. Here in India, we're in very remote destinations by the Himalayas and Rajasthan, where people are getting truly incredible, unique experiences, not next to the other resort and other resort and other resort. You're usually going to be in a very remote, isolated, but remarkable situation with world-class service, experiential, sustainable, immersive, wellness, highly curated.
And a destination for a guest.
And a destination. It creates its own destination.
Yes.
I just, one of our board members just returned from staying at the new one at the foothills of the Himalaya, and he was just ecstatic about the experience that they had. So we have now two in India. I know we'll have more in the future. It's not a brand designed to be at scale, to be everywhere. It's to be very exclusive and around the world. But we have other brands in luxury and lifestyle experience that will come to India too. We hope to soon have Regent Hotels and Resorts. We hope to soon have Kimpton Hotels and Restaurants, which is the leading boutique brand around the world today. The leading luxury boutique brand, we acquired in 2015. It's now almost 140 hotels open under development around the world in all the great destinations. India is a key target for that too.
Eli, your visit to India, let's talk about that now in the next couple of questions, and shaping the future of hospitality in India. So, your visit today coincides with it's at a most momentous time with the ongoing elections. One, the recent inauguration of the Ram Mandir, and a remarkable 8.4% GDP, which is heavy-duty growth for any country. And this was just the last quarter. In this backdrop, what opportunities do you perceive in India's vibrant travel, tourism, and hospitality sectors?
Well, look, there are elections going on around the whole world this year. We won't comment on those.
Nobody gets bigger than 1.4 billion.
Nobody. The most voters ever will be here, and we think it's exciting that this vibrant democracy continues to grow and prosper, and people get to make their choices, and they seem to be making good choices. The GDP is very exciting. I think it continues a strong trend and sets a new high watermark. I looked today at the projections for the next 5 years, and they're in the high 6s to mid 7s, which will place India right at the top of the OECD countries. We talked about the growing middle class doubling over the next 10 years. Those are bedrock, drivers for our hospitality industry. Within this context, we have huge aspirations. Today in India, we're present with really only 6 brands out of our 19 in the portfolio. I think we can bring more brands to the market. We mentioned a couple earlier. There'll be more coming, I can tell you. And yes, we have 46 hotels open, another 50 or so under development. We're going to double, but I think it's just a beginning. I think there'll be more and more an equal rate of growth over the years to come. There's no reason why India won't be hundreds and hundreds of hotels for us across limited service, mainstream, premium business hotels, and luxury and lifestyle. As the economy continues to grow, as the middle class continues to grow, as the outbound grows, and as the inbound grows. But fundamental to all that is that it's really strong domestic market, a strong domestic market. Even if nobody travels in, and even if nobody travels out, which they will, the domestic market alone is hundreds and hundred millions of room nights a year growing. And Indians are actually travelers. When there's a wedding here, it's an all-week festival.
It is.
Right? And building out our wedding proposition for travelers here is a key priority. So I'm here because we're investing more in India. We're adding people, we're adding marketing, we're adding resources in India because of the strong promise we see.
Eli, can you provide us some insights into IHG's current operations in India and how the company has adjusted its strategies to navigate the evolving hospitality landscape?
Look, we've long had an office here in India. We're now up to almost 50 people here and here. We're adding more people. We have 6,000 people that work in our hotels across those 6 brands. But I think there's more to come. We see more of our business brands coming, more of our luxury lifestyle brands coming, certainly more of our mainstream brands coming. But we're looking at India more than just at one country. Really, India is so diverse. There's so many strata, demographic strata, and so many geographic submarkets. Each could be a country in its own. Some of these states, in GDP and GDP growth rank as large as some other nations. And we're breaking it down into over 20 different subregions and having a strategy for each subregion, how we're going to grow, with what owner typology, with what customers we're going to grow, and how we're going to grow our brands. We have a pretty determined strategy across the whole nation, but the nation in itself is a continent of 1.4 billion people. Looking at India's multiple Indias is actually a better way for us to look at it than just as one country.
So, staying with India, domestic travel rebound, like you just spoke, and spiritual tourism and inbound. Now, my next question is specifically about domestic travel in India, which has seen a significant surge in recent times, more so after we've opened up after COVID.
Yes.
How is IHG capitalizing on this trend, and what strategies are in place to attract and retain domestic travelers?
We have tremendous experience doing this. I mean, we built our business in the US, we built our business in China and Europe and around the world, fundamentally on domestic travel, and then we benefit from intercontinental, international travel coming into the major gateways. But our bread and butter has always been the domestic traveler, so we're very familiar with it. As the middle class continues to grow in India, from 100 million households to doubling, as the infrastructure of roads, airports, railways grows, as affordable travel becomes more prevalent, we're prepared for that. We're going to bring more of our brands, more of our middle class brands to India. We're going to bring more of our business and luxury and lifestyle brands to India to make sure that domestic travel finds a place to stay. Because one thing that we also see with the middle class as they start to travel is they want brands they can trust. They prefer premium to basic, and that's where a global brand family like IHG always shines. People trust us. We can bring you premium experiences from mainstream to luxury, and you have a stay that you are rewarded for through IHG One Rewards. And we know that formula has worked for us around the world. The religious travel, as you mentioned,
which is my next question,
is something we have a lot of experience with.
So, you just spoke about religious travel. Spiritual tourism is reshaping travel, tourism, and hospitality in India, with staggering numbers that reflect its impact. For instance, if I was to tell you, Goa attracts 8 million travelers. Varanasi, Banaras, which is our Prime Minister's constituency, sees an astonishing 40 million pilgrims each year. Goa, 8 million. Banaras, just one city. 80 million, there's more than countries, population of many countries. With the recent developments in Ayodhya, with the Ram Temple, which has been inaugurated, and the airport also, which just came up, you spoke about the expanding number of airports. The potential for pilgrimage tourism is immense, yet the infrastructure remains slightly inadequate. But it's all happening, your views?
As the infrastructure grows, we'll grow with it. I mean, we've announced hotels and open hotels in places like Lucknow, like Amritsar, and we'll continue to grow. We have a lot of experience from the Middle East, of course, where we're the number one operator in Saudi Arabia, the biggest religious, pilgrimage place for Muslims around the world. And so we have that experience. We have huge respect for it. We understand the highly seasonal patterns that come with it, what those travelers look for, how long they stay. We're very thoughtful about it. It's a different kind of travel than say typical leisure travel or business travel, but our global experience once again allows us to localize that to the terrific opportunity of religious travel here in India and take advantage of it.
So I have two short questions to seek responses to. What is your perspective on the ideal balance between managed and franchised hotels for IHG and its portfolio, and how do you ensure consistent quality standards across your managed and franchised properties?
We start with the principle that we don't want to be any difference, that a guest cannot perceive a difference between a franchise and a managed hotel. And when we do it right, which is almost always, but not perfectly, that's what happens. But we don't have a philosophy of how much needs to be managed or how much needs to be franchised. Really depends on the market. So if you look at a market like India, we're mostly managed and likely to be mostly managed for quite some time because the third-party management industry hasn't developed as much to give owners and us the opportunity to create a difference between managed and franchise and to offer a franchise opportunity that can be trusted by owners and by guests. That will develop over time as it has developed in other markets, and you'll see more franchising, but I think for the foreseeable future, we'll be doing more managed. Not that we have anything as franchise. Most of our growth around the world today is franchise, but it depends on the local market having developed those third-party operators that have the experience. And as the hospitality industry expands into India, that's going to happen, and we'll follow that too.
Yes, when the pressures of numbers happen, you expand. The challenge is to get it all right, they all follow the brand template. That brings me to the last question, which is so important.
Yes.
With how does sustainability play a role in your growth plans?
It's intrinsic to our growth plans, embedded, written into our growth plans. Our pillars of true hospitality are embedded into our responsible business strategy. We start with a energy reduction, carbon reduction target that we've set for 2030, reducing carbon emissions by 46%. A huge challenge, but then one that we're working on with our owners and with our colleagues, with our operators around the world. Our commitment to colleagues around the world, improving the lives of 30 million people in our communities, is our third opportunity. And we've been working that because we believe that ISG is a powerful force within our communities, is a positive force. Our hotels bring prosperity, brings jobs, bring opportunities to people with disabilities, to people don't want to leave their community, the people who are diverse. Not everybody needs to move to the major cities. Seeing development in Mumbai and in Delhi and in Hyderabad and Bangalore is beautiful. But we don't want to depopulate the countryside, the rural areas, and giving people opportunity to stay where they are and work in our communities is a big part of our responsible business strategy. So true hospitality for good is tied into our global strategy. Energy reduction, colleague development, and improving the lives of 30 million people are top strategies for ISG.
And also it's the onus is on us to leave a healthy, happening and safe planet for the generations which will follow us.
Exactly.
Ellie, while I conclude, your leadership at ISG embodies a strategic vision aimed at driving innovation, growth and guest satisfaction. Your insights into ISG's operations in India and global operations offers a glimpse into the future of hospitality. We look forward to witnessing ISG's continued success under your guidance. Be there, keep coming repeatedly, and let's do the next show soon. Ellie, it truly has been a pleasure doing this session with you, and I'm sure our viewers are going to take away a lot from this genial giant who drives ISG across the world. He heads such a fine set of people, such amazing brands, and for those of you who've not yet met Ellie, he's a very fine, grounded gentleman, very humble, very rooted. It's a pleasure meeting you.
It's been my privilege to spend time with you. I'll definitely be back for more.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.